Well, hello, America. The president visited Ground Zero today. It's always a pleasure to have him and his motorcade in New York. Traffic is snarled again, but at least he's not here just for political reasons, or is he? It was the first time that he has been to Ground Zero since the 2008 presidential campaign, when he, as a candidate, stood alongside Senator John McCain. Obama invited President Bush to join him here today. Bush declined, said no, he'd like to stay out of the spotlight. Obama then invited President Clinton to join him, and Clinton declined. Clinton, there are cameras. And he said, I've got a scheduling conflict. Really? Really? So why would someone who just said we shouldn't be spiking the ball, spike the ball? Even Bill Clinton isn't going, and that should tell you something. Tonight, I want to talk to you about principle and why it is critical that you know who you are. You know what you believe, and you're able to clearly articulate those beliefs and defend those beliefs. I want to share an amazing quote with you tonight. And as we go through the hour, I want you to keep this in mind. Here it is. In a free republic, a great government is the product of great people. They will look to themselves rather than the government for success. The destiny, the greatness of America lies around the hearthstone. If thrift and industry are taught there, and the example of self-sacrifice appears, if honor abide there, and high ideals, if the building of fortune be subordinate to the building of character, America will live in security, rejoicing in abundant prosperity and good government at home, and in peace, respect, and confidence abroad. If these virtues be absent, there is no power that can supply these blessings. Look well to the hearthstone. Therein all hope for America lies. That was Calvin Coolidge. So what are the principles of the hearthstone again? There they are. Thrift, industry, self-sacrifice, honor. Hearthstone, what's being taught around the fire? What's being taught to our children? Wait until you see what's being taught to our children on tomorrow's episode. The question is, do you believe this? That America will be fine if these things are being taught? If so, guess what? You're soon going to be forced to explain and even defend these things, because America's momentum is shifting towards those who believe that there is a power that can supply these blessings, and it has nothing to do with this. It's been quite an amazing week here, beginning with the news from late Sunday, the death of UBL. It's probably, I think, the biggest psychological boost to America maybe since the death of Hitler, maybe. Bigger than the capture of Saddam Hussein, the most possible significant death since the 1940s. President Obama gave the green light for this operation, and therefore he is getting the credit deserved to him for the role he played in taking out UBL. But now let me ask you, have you seen the ratings? Have you seen the poll numbers? How has this payoff been for him? Well, anywhere from flat to about 11 points. New York CBS Times poll is 11 points. That's the highest it gets. Quinnipiac survey shows a 6-point bump. Rasmussen shows 2, which is basically flat. So the best case scenario here is 11%, and that's from CBS News and the New York Times. More likely, it's somewhere in between. That's all the bump a president gets for taking out the world's #1 most wanted terrorist. That he should be up 25 points, don't you think? George W. Bush, I mean, I give him credit for it. He did the job. George W. Bush was in the low 90s after 9/11, but that was different. George H.W. Bush is probably a better comparison. After the Gulf War, it was 89%. Kennedy hit 83% after the Bay of Pigs invasion, and that one didn't go well. 11 points at the high point. Obama had a huge success and no poll spike. I contend that 11 is going to be the highest he will see by far. Getting UBL, I believe, will actually hurt him in the long run. Now, I know that's quite a statement here, but here's why. Because it's going to fall apart. People know something's wrong, and it has to do with principles. What are your principles? What is it that you believe in? Now, do you live your life by those principles? What are the president's principles? I don't know. Do you? Do our allies? They're getting harder and harder to tell. First of all, I don't know if you know this or if you've noticed, but the president is really never there at the fight. I mean, this is the first fight that President Obama has showed up to. Well, you could say, what about health care? Sure, health care was driven by Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid. Did you notice that? They did all the heavy lifting on that. Meanwhile, Obama was supposed to be vacationing in Hawaii, but he postponed his trip until the Senate passed it. But he really wasn't on the front lines. Libya, another current example. When we launched all those missiles, he was in beautiful Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, while we were launching missiles into the streets of Libya. He was absent. This is actually the first time that I can recall that he put it all on the line. He was there. And while I realize, it's not easy, as far as presidential decisions go, this shouldn't have been that difficult. But it took this president 16 hours to decide. Remember, back in August, they knew where UBL was. In February, they said, all right, we're going to try to capture or kill him, right? He said yes. This last week, they found out, we're ready to go, Mr. President. It took him 16 hours to decide. I mean, what did he do? I mean, that's a really pretty easy question, isn't it? I mean, I got to get a nap in. I got to get on my jammies and a blanket and a sippy cup. What are you doing? 16 hours? He could have gotten 2 full nights sleep. 16 hours. Put this in perspective. The World Trade Center hijackers boarded their planes in Boston around 6 a.m. By 9:03, both planes had hit the 2 towers. That's 3 hours to accomplish the job. It took the President of the United States more than 5 times this time to make that call. Why 16 hours? This is why I believe the poll numbers will fall apart and why it took him 16 hours. Because I think he got all tripped up in his own mind because he was contradicting every bit of foreign policy, everything he's ever advocated. It confirmed everything that he said doesn't work. It actually did work. He ended up doing the right thing in the end, but he did so against everything he has publicly advocated for or against, and sometimes those have switched places. He's against waterboarding, right? Here it is.
I believe that waterboarding was torture. And I think that whatever legal rationales were used, it was a mistake.
Okay, it was a mistake, yet it was the waterboarding of the Harry Beck guy that provided the intel that led to UBL's doorstep. So that he must have been conflicted. There's probably 20 minutes on that one. Jeez, man, was I wrong on this one? Now, he's also been calling for the closing down of Gitmo. But without the information from the detainees, we'd be nowhere. He wanted all the al-Qaeda leaders tried in civilian courts. His administration is more harshly investigating criminally CIA officers who interrogated al-Qaeda leaders than perhaps the al-Qaeda leaders themselves. He wants them tried to show off our criminal justice system, but this one he just says go in and kill him. I mean, okay, there's at least, there's probably 4 hours of that one. He said we had no reason to be in Iraq. He's on the record. No reason to be in Iraq. They have no ties to al-Qaeda. Unfortunately, the guy who led to the capture of UBL was captured in Iraq. So maybe there was al-Qaeda, there were ties, what? Now you take to the UBL photos. This one really bothers me. He will not release them now because he's worried it might inflame the enemy. Okay, good. So we don't want to make things worse for our troops. However, in 2009, he pushed for the release of the 2,000 pictures from Abu Ghraib. Finally, he didn't do it because the Pentagon said, are you crazy? It's going to get our troops killed. He says he doesn't want to inflame the Muslims. And that we should all know that Muslims cannot be terrorists. Well, Mr. President, why give the most wanted terrorist a proper Muslim burial? Isn't that a burial? Isn't that offensive to Muslims? Because if Muslims can't be terrorists, why would you give Osama bin Laden a Muslim burial? That doesn't make sense. There's another hour of lost sleep. So now he's not going to release any of those photos of bin Laden because he's said now that he doesn't want to spike the football or pass out any trophies. Okay. But on the same week that he says that, he gives our enemies trophies, allowing the pictures of American troops, the flag-draped coffins, to be published. That just happened, what, today or yesterday? I'm confused, Mr. President. I don't even know what the hell. Who are you? I thought you were against that stuff and for some of the other stuff. Is this part of the change? You keep changing your mind? Change was never defined. And I don't think he's ever been defined in his own head. I'm sure you've heard the jokes about President Obama being the Manchurian candidate, and those dopes now on TV are like, he had brain surgery. What did they replace his brain? Is that what they did now? He's not the Manchurian candidate. However, he may be the manufactured candidate. On the campaign trail, the press manufactured every image of him. They eagerly labeled this man as JFK. There it is. Then when that one kind of didn't work, they labeled him as Abraham Lincoln. He's also been compared to FDR, and the latest is Ronald Reagan. I mean, I've seen the changes in the War Department. I mean, he's really looking more like George W. Bush because he keeps just appointing all the same people that Bush did. So maybe he's Bush. No, he's Barack Obama. But who is Barack Obama? Can you really tell? His stance on Israel. On one hand, he says they have the right to exist. And then, on the other hand, he praises the people in Egypt and helps them out who are vowing to wipe Israel off the map. All right. He wants to sit down with Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Yet, he'll barely sit down with Benjamin Netanyahu. Try this one on for size. Every year, a message goes out to the Iranian people for the new year. In 2009, here's the face of Barack Obama, all nicey nice. Watch.
For nearly 3 decades, relations between our nations have been strained. But at this holiday, we are reminded of the common humanity that binds us together. So on the occasion of your new year, I want you, the people and leaders of Iran, to understand the future that we seek. It's a future with renewed exchanges among our people and greater opportunities for partnership and commerce.
Wow. We want to do trade with these people because we have a lot in common. 2 years later, the same president. No more happy talk.
For nearly 2 years, there's been a campaign of intimidation and abuse. Young and old, men and women, rich and poor, the Iranian people have been persecuted. Hundreds of prisoners of conscience are in jail. The innocent have gone missing. Journalists have been silenced. Women tortured. Children sentenced to death.
Is that only 2 years, Mr. President? Which is it? Do we still want to do trade with them? I mean, do you believe they're super nicey nice or they're torturing women and children? Do we publicly scold them or do we trade with them? I don't know. Now he's off to ground zero to take a victory lap. I mean, I find this extraordinarily offensive.